issue and the role of development professionals. Today we have with us Mrs. Sneha Manjari Mishra. Mrs. Sneha Manjari Mishra completed her bachelor degree with botany honors from RD Women's College, currently known as RD University, Bhubaneswar, Odisha. She did her MSW from National Institute of Social Work and Social Sciences, Bhubaneswar, Odisha. Then she also did her Bachelor of Law from Utkal University, Odisha. Mrs. Mishra is the founder of eminent, an organization promoting the rights of children, women, and persons with disability in Odisha and India since last 2 decades. Currently, she is also serving as the president of Odisha Professional Social Workers Association, OPSWA. She is a national resource person on NIRD on gender equality and is also a trainer on child rights and disability rights. She has been serving as independent member to the internal complaint committee under Post Act in many government and corporate offices. She has served as a board member of National Trust under the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment.
प्रदीप सर आपण म्यूट हे गले
Am I audible now?
Yes sir, it is loud and clear.
So, Mrs. Mishra has basically serving parallelly two renowned organizations like eminent and Odisha Professional Social Worker Association. She has been a champion for gender and women justice and advocacy for policy interventions. Under her leadership, eminent has developed an accessible app for the visually and hearing challenged people called Red Talk on menstrual hygiene and related issues. She has to her credit a number of articles published in leading newspapers, frequently deliver talk on TV on issues relating to women, disability, and child rights, etc., and conducted study on issues of children, women, and disability. Out of her vast knowledge and experience of working with persons with disability, today she will deliver on empowering people with disability and the role of professional social workers. On behalf of Gyanalok and all participants present in today's lecture, once again I welcome Mrs. Mishra and request to address the audience. Over to you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Pradeep. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay. Thank you and good evening to all of you. Before I start my talk, I just would like to understand how many of you do not understand Odia. Can you raise your hands or write in the chat box?
Outside Odisha.
So, yeah, there are few. I mean, yes. From the name I can actually guess. Yeah.
So better to deliver either Hindi or English.
Right. So I'll try to keep myself within English and Hindi, and if at all I switch on to Odia being my mother tongue, please let me know.
It would be a pleasure to hear from you in Odia, but I would love to be in part of Hindi and English.
Yeah, since there are other people, people those who do not understand Odia, so let's not, like kind of discriminate them. I'll try to manage between, Odia, Hindi, and English for that matter. Okay. So today's topic, basically, what Pradeep has been actually asking me for a long, and then I have been kind of deferring him for some or other thing, and finally I agreed. No, I must, honor your request. Thank you, Pradeep, for having me, and thanks all of you for joining in. Today's topic, as you all know, is empowerment of persons with disabilities and role of professional social workers. And I'm pretty aware that people, those who have joined this discussion, almost like 50 people we are here around, all of them have a professional social work background, or they are into the profession of social work. I just would like to tell you, please don't expect a very professional kind of presentation from me. Even though I have a presentation, I'll also speak about that. But just let me start with how I end up with working in the field of disabilities. When I was a student of social work back in late 80s, at that point of time, let me be very, very honest with all of you, that I just knew about the visual impairment, about the hearing impairment, and of course with polio and other locomotor disabilities. The rest of the disabilities I was not at all aware about. So while I was studying, and then I was surfing the library for my doing the notes for the examinations and all that, I came across a book called Disabled Village Children by David Werner. And that book is actually a turning point in my life. Somehow I started actually looking at this book and I started liking it. So I had borrowed this book from the library and then I had gone through this book. It's a voluminous book of almost 300 some odd pages. And I still remembered I probably finished it in 3 or 4 days. It was that interesting for me. And then from there onwards, I started actually looking into the opportunities to work in this particular field. And coincidentally, there was a guest lecturer in our school who had joined us from Calcutta, from the Indian Institute of Cerebral Palsy. Then it was called the Spastic Society of Eastern India. She was talking about a disability called cerebral palsy, which is completely new for many of us, in fact, all of us for that matter. And I, started growing a lot of interest in that. And then I talked to her. I talked to her and say, how can I actually know more about it? Because that's something which is really fascinating me, and I wanted to learn more and more about it. So she said, why don't you come for an internship to our organization? So I said that would be really nice. And as all of you know, that we have to do a block placement. So I opted my block placement to be done at Spastic Society of Eastern India at that point of time. It was pretty complex. I mean, to be there in Kolkata and then doing the internship in that institution, because the institution was not offering any in housing, like facilities and all that. But still, then we managed to do that. So my point of saying all these things over here is, till that point of time, what I knew about disability was definitely not from a professional social worker point of view. But the moment I, go through this book, and then, I started doing my blog placement, I kind of, started shaping my own future into a professional framework. So that kind of helped me to look at myself, to look at the kind of skills that I have, to look at the kind of skill that I have actually kind of inbuilt within me for my theoretical input, and then started, kind of using it in the practical point of view. So with this, I just would like to take you through small presentation. I had few films to show you, but then I'm afraid all these films are actually in Odia, even though we have subtitles in English in all the films. So shall we start with a small film, if you all don't mind? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am, please.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to share my screen, and then how do I do that? Okay. Yeah, just let me know if you are able to hear the audio and see my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, both are clear.
भाई तुम आखि तो देखा जाउनी माछ कोन धरछ
मते सिना दुसुनी माछ कोन दुसुनी अरे देखिए कि चल चल तो डाक्तरखाना नहीं जीवी
Okay. Yeah. Hello.
Yes, ma'am. You are audible. Yes.
So, yes. So, how was the film?
Bicycle. Nice.
Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, I was trying to close the film, but then I got disconnected. So, how do you like the film? uh, did you manage to see the entire film, or there was any disruption? Mhm. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. I think it was less than 2 minutes, right?
Yeah, it was just 1 minute.
Yeah. Okay. So we managed to see that, but I don't know
Okay.
about other participants.
Right. So, what did you learn from this film?
Very
Any other
difficult question.
observations? Yeah. Yes,
Very,
Ramakant.
very difficult question, ma'am, actually.
Is
So,
it
in my
really?
personal opinion, if I can tell in 2 words, like I have a skill set, other people may not have, but we both can manage to complete the, I mean, whatever the ad hoc assignment, or is there any deliverable or something, we can manage to do that with the help of each other on that.
Right. So basically, what we have seen is like when we talk to a person with disabilities, we always try to see what the person is not able to do, what the person cannot do. So our focus is mostly on that, and for which we actually miss out what the person can do, what is the person potentiality of that person, what is the capacity of that person. We always tend to miss it when we do not focus on the person but focus on his or her disability. So similarly, in the film, the person is more concerned that like he cannot see, but how come he's come for fishing? Now this man is also kind of like joking, saying that I can't see, but the fish also can see. So we tend to forget that even if the person doesn't see, he also can go for fishing, right? So these are some of the things that actually happens in and around, and we kind of like go very cool about it, and then we think that it's not probably important. Well, I mean, why a person with disability, why a person who cannot see requires to go even for fishing, I had a colleague with me who was working, and then she had some visual issues. Um, she was sharing with me in one particular occasion when the entire family was wearing new clothes. So she also kind of demanded that I should have a new cloth. Now, one of her sisters saying that, but why do you want a new cloth? She said, because I want a new cloth. Because it's an occasion when everybody is wearing new. That's the reason why I should have a new cloth. Only because I can't see, that does not mean that I do not require to have a new cloth for me, right? So these are very small little things, but then it affects people. It also affects our own environment. But sometimes we kind of close ourselves, shut ourselves. Okay, Pradeep, do you like to share the presentation, or you want me to do that?
As you like, actually. If you can say, then I can also share. Or
Okay, let me try. Yeah, can you do that? I think that's better if you do it.
okay, no problem. I can do.
Yeah. So by the time Pradeep comes up with the presentation, I just would like to take you through a very small incident that happened in my own life. When I was doing my social work, course, I was doing my field work in missionaries of charity, where there was a girl with disability, and in fact, he had acquired disability. It wasn't there from the very birth. When she was studied up to class 5, she was quite, okay, like you and me. And then while she was in class 5, she had high fever and encephalitis, and then subsequently she had a problem, and then she had developed, quadriplegic, like all her four limbs got affected and her speech got affected. She was not able to speak, she was not able to move, and all these things happened. So this girl was there in Missionaries of Charity, and the sister superior told me that if you want to, because you all are social work students and you are doing your field work, so can you help us in terms of rehabilitating this child back in her family, because we do not keep children who actually has family. Basically, there are children who do not have families staying here, so there is no provision. For some or other reason, we thought she is going to be here for a short while, but then it seems the parents are not interested to take her back home. So if you just could help us taking her, getting her back to the home. So we were students. We are very young at that point of time, very enthusiastic. So some of us said, why not? Let's go and talk to the family and all. But let me tell you, my dear friends, it was not very easy. Is ironically also a fact. Many a time, even people there in the family do not want the family members with disability to be there in the family. Like I talked about this particular girl. But then there also comes the role of a social worker. There also comes a role of a social worker in terms of doing a social analysis, in terms of doing where things went wrong, and what kind of support system that we have in our families, what kind of support system that we have in our societies, and how can we facilitate all these systems, and then see that the person uh, who is in need of any kind of services gets the right kind of services. So I was very enthusiastic, and then I started working with this family. And then I talked to the parents. I talked to her father. Her father was a government servant. And then, one day he came to my house. And I remember my father was saying, see, they are studying and all that. So don't think that they are going to help you much and all. Because my father was anticipating, like, I'm a little bit overconfident and all. I still remembered I was feeling so bad on that day, and I was really a little bit annoyed with my father that why is he saying like that, as if I'm going to have all the solutions with me. But then that's how actually my conversation started with the parents, with the father. Then I said, I know your daughter. I have seen her. I have seen what she can do, and also, I'm very pleased to know that she has studied up to class 5, and I think there's a chance of continuation of her study. Then he started saying, no, it is not possible because he is not able to sit up. She's not able to move, so it's not possible for her to go to the school. I said, where lies the problem? Going to the school, if that is a problem, then we can think about having a wheelchair for her and then she can be there in the school. And the father was looking at me. And then he said, yeah, that is also possible. And I said, if she's not able to sit up, then let's talk to some therapist if they could help us in terms of getting her, to the sitting posture and all that, so that it is easier for her to sit there on the wheelchair. I don't know from where I got this knowledge. I think it is the book that I was going through, but then somehow or other it really worked. And then the parents also a little bit started, feeling confident about it. And then, after a few days, they took the child back to the family. I wouldn't say that is just because of me. Definitely, there's a lot of pressure that was also happening from the miscarriage of charity people. And then there was other pressures, and then for which the parents succumbed to those pressures and got the child back. But then there's a good thing happened that the child is actually got back to the family. She managed to see her siblings, she managed to see her parents, so she was happy. Otherwise, I mean, when she was there in the home, she was not at all happy. All the time, either she would be looking at the top, I mean, to the ceiling, because she's always in a lying position, or else she would be, like looking at the patients, I would say, who are there next to her in the next bed, who are mostly, like the old aged people and all that. So definitely it was a very difficult time for her. So she was back in the family. Now, I just would like to, ask all of you why it was important for me to see that this child should be back to the family. What do you think? Can you go to the next slide? Yeah. So, who do you think is a person with disabilities? Can you click? Go next, Pradeep.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
may I?
Yes, please. Please, Saroj.
Yes, good evening, ma'am. A person who has, there are two type of disabilities as per my point of view. First one is that
Okay.
physical disabilities. Those persons or those people who lost their parts of an body during an accident or any other incidents. So that can be called as disabilities. Means
Okay.
any part of their body not functioning properly.
Right. So, yeah. So when we ask who is a person with disability, so basically, thing comes that a person who cannot see, a person who cannot speak, or a person whose body parts is not working. So there's a lot of cannot, there's a lot of not, and not. We don't see, like I was saying, we don't see what the child, what the person is able to do, what the ability that person is actually having. Okay. And we always think a person who is not like you and me, or majority of people we know, they are a person with disability. Long back, I think somewhere in 70s, when we just had Doordarshan, no other channels were there. I remember there's a series of like serials. Those are coming in the evening, and those are actually from different language and all. And one of the serial I still remembered. It was soundless. It was speechless, because I mean, of mostly, because it was talking about a person who landed up in a land where no one talks. Okay, this person is having speech, this person can hear, he can speak loudly, he can speak anything, but the land he had actually landed up, there are people, but these people, they do not talk, they only sign to each other. Now the man who was having his speech was feeling miserable, okay, and was feeling literally marginalized. Why? Because he doesn't know how to speak to these people. He doesn't know the language that they are actually speaking with. The signing that they are doing to each other, this person doesn't know. So he was literally miserable. Okay. That means the majority is always taken for granted as normal. Okay. So what I'm trying to say over here is, only because we are in a world where it is dominated by voice, where it is dominated by the people who are able to see, by the people who are able to hear and speak a lot. And that's the reason why people who do not speak or who has a little bit of problems in terms of seeing, as Saroj was saying and all that, are considered as persons with disability. Okay. So there's a lot of actually deliberation happened. As you know, disability is an evolving subject, and the kind of knowledge that we had in late 80s about disability is no more there with us. It has actually, there was a complete paradigm shift. And it all happened after 2006 and 7 when we had the UNCRPD, the United Nations Convention for Rights of Persons with Disabilities. So there in UNCRPD, the definition of disability actually got completely changed. People with disability, they themselves, like come together, and then they said the persons with disability include those who have long-term physical, mental, intellectual, or sensory impairments. Yes, there is an impairment for which, in interaction with various barriers, may hinder their full and effective participation in society on an equal basis. So here, it is not about the sensory impairments or the hearing impairments, or there's a reduced mobility, or there's a problem in seeing and all that. So there was a shift from the problem to the barrier. Those are there already in the society that prevents the persons to interact on a regular basis. Let us say we are there in a meeting, a person with wheelchair is trying to come to that meeting. The person is definitely, like full power, empowered with knowledge and all that, like any other there in the meeting. The person is not able to come to that meeting room just because there is no ramp, just because there's a flight of, steps. So it is not possible for the person, because the person is there in the wheelchair, to come into that room. That means the person was debarred from the opportunity to talk to the people, or to kind of let people know that what he knows about the topic that we are discussing about. Okay, so that is what is called disability. So it is not, the problem is not lying with the person, the problem is lying with somewhere else where the barriers are there. And that is the reason why a lot of focus has been given after UNCRPD to remove those barriers and see that the person with impairments get included. Yes, they have some impairments, but that does not prevent them from participating in discourse, that does not prevent them in participating education, in participating employment, in many other things. Okay. Can we go next? Next, yeah. So I just would like to take you through how the things were there earlier. When earlier we were talked about disability, or we were taught about disability, it was absolutely a disability or in a medical model, where the focus was mostly on what the person is not able to do. Now the person is not able to work, fine, let's give a pair of crutches. The person is not able to do this and do that, so let us provide some kind of medical support to the person. That means the focus was mostly on the disability. Okay, so slowly it has gone to the social model, where we were thinking that with the disability we can rehabilitate the person. Okay, so it has gone up to the social model. And later, after UNCRPD and a lot of like other lagunas by the people with disability, it has it has gone to the inclusion model. So, and where the focus is, as I was saying, to remove the barriers, not on focusing the disabilities, not on thinking about the rehabilitation. Okay, so even the term rehabilitation also got kind of questioned. So it's not rehabilitation, it is inclusion rather. Okay, and how are you going to ensure this inclusion? This inclusion has to happen at the community level. It has to be the community-based inclusive development. It is development, it is the discourse of development where people with disability has to have the role, and they have to think about it. Okay, so that is how the paradigm actually got shifted from from the disability model to the inclusion model. Now let's look at the kind of legal safeguarding systems that we have in our country. So back in 90s, for the first time in our in our country, in 1995, we had an act called PWD Act, or Persons with Disability Equal Opportunities Act, that happened in 1995. And after that, in 2001, 2004, I guess. In 2004, we have it's 2001, 1990 and 2001, we have the National Trust Act. So National Trust Act, and under the PWD Act, let me tell you, there are 7 categories of disability that got defined. One is like visual impairment or low vision and locomotor disability. Within that, cerebral palsy is also included. We have mental retardation. Then we have leprosy cured people. We have mental illness that got come in, and hearing and speech impaired people. So those are the kind of disability that was kind of defined in the act along with other things. And on the National Trust Act, National Trust Act actually came in 1999 when the parents of mentally retarded, autistic, deafblind, and cerebral palsy people come together. And then, because they are the children, they are the people who require a lot of support. They're in need of a high support, and the people those are requiring high support needs, the parents basically take care of these children. And the parents think, or like these children actually require a long-term support from family members, from caregivers, things like that. So parents think, what is going to happen to my child when we are not there? So that was the question with which the parents actually come together and started brainstorming among themselves. And then they started actually approaching the government. So where the government also felt, yes, this is something which is very important and we have to talk about it, we have to think about it. So that is how the National Trust Act actually came into force in 1999 with 100 crores, kind of corpus which has been given by the government to National Trust. And from this corpus, the National Trust started actually floating in a lot of schemes which is going to help the people with disabilities, specifically these 4 categories of disability that I talked about. One is autistic spectrum disorder, the second one is mental retardation, third one is cerebral palsy, and fourth one is deafblindness, where the person with multiple disability or deafblindness. Now, when all these things were actually going on, so there's a lot of things that was also happening at the international level, like I was talking about the UNCRPD and all. So when the UNCRPD started actually defining that there should not be anything called disability, rather these are impairments, and based on the impairments, because there is a problem in the day-to-day interactions with the day-to-day, with the daily course, conducting the daily course of a person. So we have to remove those barriers and all that, and there has to be regional accommodation and many other things. That's how, I mean, the shift actually got changed, and it also, and then post UNCRPD, there is a lot of discourse happened here in India. Number of, like in 2009-10, I guess, from in India, 10-11. In 10-11, Government of India actually started conducting a lot of consultation to come up with one particular act here in our country. And in 2016, we had an act in our country got enforced based on the UNCRPD model, based on the principles of UNCRPD, which is called Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act. So under Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act, there are 21 different category of disability got included. And I'll tell you that, a little bit talking about a very broader framework. In 2001, the first census of disability actually took place in our country. And in 2011, we also had another census where it was observed that 2.3% of people with disability are there in India. And in some of the state, it has gone up to 2.8 or something like that. So on an average, it was something this way. But the WHO said that there are at least 15% of people with disability who are there in the entire world. So where do we stand as a country? As a country where we have, a bigger population. At that point of time, we were the second most populous country. Right now, we are the top. Do you all know that we have become the most populous country in the world now? So, so at that point of time, when we are the second highest, population in the world, we just had 2.3% of people with disabilities. So when the 21 different categories actually started coming in, in 2021, it was actually our census a year, and as you all know, because of the COVID, the census actually got stopped. It has not been actually kind of done in our country, and I'm not sure whether it's going to happen also. And if at all it happens, whether all these 21 categories of disability are going to be identified, and then kind of some number is there, displayed before us, that this is the percentage of people with disability that we have here in India. That kind of helps, for the government to allocate the resources. When we are talking about the numbers, the number actually helps a lot. Okay. I just would like to, share one of my experience working in the field of disabilities back in 2001, when the census actually had taken place, but it has not come out with a report. We did a complete, district census in the district of Ganjam here in Odisha. Again, Ganjam is one of the biggest district in Odisha, having 22 blocks. So when we started working in a project, we had to actually do the census, and then we did it in 2002. We came up with a report where again the percentage of disability, I think that point of time was in Ganjam, it was 2.7 or 8. I just don't remember right now. But then that was the percentage of disability that was found out by even by us. So, and by number wise, it has gone up to 50 some odd thousand, I guess. Now, when we shared this report with the district collector and with the district administration started looking at us. They said, "From where did you get so many numbers?" I said, "It's everything is there. We had the census up to the like up to the village level. The presentation was there up to the panchayat and village level." I said, "You can check even XYZ village, and then see whether this many people with disabilities are there or not." And I'll tell you that this is again because we are talking about the role of social worker, which I'll come to the thing later. This is again my background of social work that kind of helped me in terms of looking at things from that point of view. And I'll tell you, at that point of time, the report that we had come up with for Ganjam census, the report was referred by each of the video, each of the tahsildars and the district collector himself extensively, because it was having that kind of information. There was information age-wise, there was information sex-wise, there was also information about different age category from 0 to 6, 6 to 14, 14 to 8, 15 to 18, and things like that. And also there was analysis like which block that the percentage was high, and probably why it is high, and all that. So this analysis actually helps them in terms of looking at things. And I'll tell you, at that point of time, the collector said, "We just have 8,000 people with disability in our district." I said, "What is the basis of this 8,000? Can you tell me?" He said, "Because we are providing pension to 8,000 people with disabilities in our district." So remember, that was in 2001. And then when we came up with this report, then we started actually kind of giving them the evidence that these are the people who are there in the district. Within 2 years, in 2003, this 8,000 actually got converted to 21,000. So just imagine how the number and how the census is actually helpful. So that happens. I mean, but the thing is, like, we have to present the things in a very professional and very sincere manner to the people those are there in power. Okay, can you go next? Yeah, next slide, please. Well, so disability is actually understood, not defined in the new Act. So unlike the PWD Act 1995, as I was saying, where the 7 category of disability got defined, whereas in the UN Convention, in the UNCRPD, and also in the Rights of Persons with Disability Act, it was kind of made understood to the people. Disability as an interaction of impairments and barriers. We had to understand what does it mean. We do not have to actually define any kind of disability. We have to understand where the impairments are actually coming up as barriers, or where are the problems that is there, so that we can remove these barriers to see that the person is actually able to participate and get the opportunities. Now, persons with disability as part of human diversity and also as equal and contributing members of the society with the support. That is something which is very, very important, because neither in the family nor in the society we consider people with disability as the contributing member to the family or even to the society. So to make the people with disability as contributing member, you have to work with the person very intensively to see that where his impairments are actually, become the deterrent in terms of participation. Whether suppose a child who has a problem in movement, so can we see that the movement, that is taken care of by mobility devices, so that the child is able to move, or because of that kind of moving, the child is able to come to the school and participate in the education system, participate in other extracurricular activities, and then develop himself or herself. So those kind of things, I know it kind of forced us to look at in that way. And specifically barrier means any factor, including, it could be communication, it could be cultural, it could be economic, environmental, institutional, political, social, and moreover attitudinal. As I said, the biggest disability among us is our attitude. If we start thinking about, oh, this person doesn't, all his four limbs are not working, he's in a wheelchair, how do you think he's going to help us, how do you think he's going to tell us, I mean, what to do, what not to do? Let me tell you, the biggest scientist in this world was also in a wheelchair, and who that person was? Can anyone say? Next slide. Yeah, I just would like to hear some voice. Have you all heard about Stephen Hawking? Yeah. Please go and read some of his books. Specifically, I'll tell you, he is a super fine physicianist, and the kind of contribution he has made to science is incomparable. Okay. Well, when we talk about empowering persons with disability, we have to first understand what empowerment is all about. So empowerment of a person or a group of people is the process of granting them power, right, or authority. Okay. Now you may ask, where they not be there with any power, or there was no authority given to them, why do we need to require to grant all these things to them? For some or other reasons, for the social structure, for the kind of society that we are living in, for the kind of practices that we have in our society, a group of people, just not people with disability, I'm just saying the group of people are systematically, got marginalized, and for which they lost the opportunity to access the power, they lost the opportunity to access many opportunities that is there. So that is how those things needs to be granted to the people. So empowerment means the person should have power to exercise her rights, power to think, power to kind of access people, power to reach out to someone, and the accessibility also should be there, and the opportunity also has to be there. If there is no opportunity, the person cannot be empowered with. If we say that there is no need of a child with disability to go to the school and study, that means the person, that this child cannot be empowered at any point of time, because information is power. If the information is not given to the person, then definitely the person will not be empowered with. So the positive thinking also has to be there, and also mostly, I mean, you have to see that the person has to accept himself or herself. That self-determination has to be there. And let me tell you, the person who are marginalized, they are always, the self-determination is not there. They always think that we are not in a position to do anything. I mean, I don't need to tell you, if people have gone to the field and you have seen how people kind of react, हम लोगों को क्या पता है, हम लोगों को तो कुछ पता ही नहीं है, nothing is there with us, how do you think we can we can do this? I still remember in one of the very remote villages that we had visited, and we were talking about some particular scheme and all that. Then after the discussion, when I asked the woman who was sitting there, so did you understand what it is? So can you now go to the the nearest panchayat office and demand for your thing? नहीं दीदी, हम लोग कैसे जा सकते हैं, हम लोग तो नहीं जा सकते, हमको कौन देगा, आप चलिए, आप जो करेंगे हमारे लिए वही अच्छा है. Okay. So I was asking myself, in my social work profession, it has been told that you should not be doing something for the people, but you should be letting the people, do that. So I said, it's not possible for me to go. It is your benefit for which you have to go. So what I can do maximum, I can be there with you when you go to the panchayat office. When you go there, when you start talking about your rights, I can be there with you, but I cannot do things for you. Okay. So what I'm trying to say is like the self-image and also the self-determination has to be, enhanced, has to be boosted on for these people, because for many years and years, they have been marginalized. They have been not told about what their rights is. They have not been actually exposed to many things that is there in and around them, or which could actually empower them. Yeah, next. So how to empower persons with disabilities? There are, very basic 5 things that we need to understand. One is like Ajay was saying, see the person first. And that is why after UNCRPT, this term has been actually, introduced, person with disabilities. It is not differently able, it is not disabled, but persons with disabilities. Person is first, disability comes later. I remember somewhere in 2003 or 4, I was making a presentation in one of the national seminar where while I made a presentation, a PowerPoint like this, I have written the disability, dis in small letter and ability in capital letter. I was very happy that I have, written a very, a very respectful word or respectful language. So I was very happy. And after my presentation was over, the people were very happy, because it was something which was coming from the community. Very, how do we do our the inclusive development programs and all, which was kind of unique. People are very happy. They were clapping and all that. I had a co-panelist who was a person with disability herself, and she said, Sneha, I had objection to some of your presentations. I said, please let me know. And she said, why did you write the term disabilities like this? I said, I thought by writing this, I'm putting a focus on the ability. She said, no, it is not accepted by me as a person with disability. Okay. I'm quite happy with the term person with disability. I'm a person first, and then I still have some kind of problems. That's okay. But you can't say that you are a superhero. No, I'm not a superhero. I'm a human being like you and me, which is also a fact. We have a tendency of seeing a person either a superhero or zero, nothing. We don't see people, as people. We don't see people, like you and me. So that's what is also expected in many of the films that which we have in our website. Actually, I thought of showing a number of films, but then because of the time and technical glitches, I'm not able to show you. But you all can actually go to our website aina.org.in and go to the YouTube. There are a number of films that has been there actually for on disability, which we do a film festival here in Odisha, if you all know. It's called Dhwani, and through which we call for films, and then there is a contest also happens on the theme of disability. So all the award-winning films actually have been kind of hosted in our YouTube site, so you can see all these films. So in the many of the films that you will see that they have portrayed the person with disability as a heroic figure. We don't need to. A person with disability is not always a hero. A person with disability is actually a person with disability. I still remember there was a one-man film where this person has come to give a person with disability with a crutch. He had with the crutches, it's an animated film. So with the crutches, he had come to a panel of interviewer who was actually sitting there, and then they were asking, "Oh, now tell us, what can you do? Can you sing?" He said, "No." The other person said, "So can you dance?" He said, "No." Can you paint? Then he said, "No." So the fourth person is asking, then what can you do? Why are you here? You can dance, you can sing, you can do anything. We heard persons with disability are those have some other kind of impairment. They are empowered with some other things. So you should be actually able to do all these things, all these extracurricular activities. You should be able to perform. Then he said, no, I'm here to work. You have given an advertisement for a work, not for singing, dancing, doing drama or doing any kind of paintings and all that. I have learned computer. I can actually work with your computer. You can ask me to give you a note. I can give it to you. Okay. So what I'm trying to say is, like, they are also persons. So let us look at them as person. Let us understand that they also have, kind of aspirations like you and me. They also have abilities like you and me. They also have disabilities like you and me. If you ask me to, to fly a aeroplane, I'll not be able to do that because I do not know. That's my disability, let's say, and I'm sure many of us will not be able to do that. That does not mean people, consider us as a person with disability. That's one of our disability area. That's an inability of many of us. So similarly, they also have one or some other kind of disabilities. It's because of, again, the impairment as we are discussing. So let us look at the person first. So see the person first, learn about the person. Here you have to learn that what is the capacity of that person, what the person is able to do, what is the strength of that person. The strength of the person is actually our forte, so that we can think about, getting the help of the person or getting ourselves help by his or her contribution. Listen to the person. This is again listening. I mean, as all of us know, as social work professions, again, listening is something which is very, very important. Okay, that is the first stage of counseling. So we always say, like, we counsel the parents. So counseling has to be required and all that. If you listen to a person, and if you actively listen to a person, I think your counseling is done. That's what I always feel. I have seen a number of like parents who are devastated because they have a child with disability. They have been given very wrong information when they had gone to the doctors, because that is the first point where the parents actually go. I can just tell you here from one of my experience. I was dealing with a child with Down syndrome. Do you all know what Down syndrome is? Anyone? Well, Down syndrome is considered as one of the intellectual disabilities where the person is actually, having 24 pairs of chromosomes, and because of this 24 pair, the person does not look like her father or mother, but all the Down syndrome people look alike. They look like the earlier they were called Mongoloids because they're looking like them. And then there was an objection by the Mongolian people saying that how could you, brand as for people with intellectual disabilities. So now these children are a little bit slow. These children are not able to perform as per their age. Let us say a 15-year-old probably would be behaving like a 5-year-old, but that does not mean that they do not have any intellectual, the intelligence is not there. Well, now I was dealing with a mother who has a child with Down syndrome. He was probably 7-year-old when he came to us, and then she came to us, and then she was talking to me, and then she said, Didi, can you help me? I think my child is having the brain of a monkey. So I was looking at her. I said, how could a human being, a child of a human being can have a brain of a monkey? From where did you get this theory, and who told you that? Then she started, like crying loud. She busted out. She said, I was told the same thing by the doctor I saw. After the birth of the child, when the doctor was revealing to the parents, look at the kind of misinformation that is actually been passing through. The doctor is saying, see, you have given birth to a child who has a brain of a monkey, who is having a brain of a monkey. Now, a mother, in our society, just imagine the kind of plight she must have gone through when the family members came to know that this particular term has been revealed to the family members. She was discarded by the family. She was looked down upon by her husband. She had to fight with the family saying that this is our child, but then she could not do that. She was thrown out. She had to be there with her, parental family, and she had come to us. And then I had to talk to her, and then I listened to her, and then I talked to her. I said, see, I just would like to tell you that whatever information you have been given is probably incorrect, and this is the kind of information that I have for you. Here is a child. If you're talking about a brain, his brain is completely active. The only thing is he's not able to speak like you and me. He feels like you and me. He has all the abilities that you have and I have, but his abilities will be, like kind of shown to us on a later stage. Probably we are able to speak a sentence at the age of 2. He would be doing that at the age of 10 or 12. But he's a child who has, who is very affectionate and who has all those human being, human nature, rather more humanly than you and me. The same child, I have been working with this child, the same child who when he was, I think he was 12 or 13, and we all were preparing for a dance program, and he was one of the dancers. I was trying to, put his turban on, and I was not able to tie his turban properly. And then I was, blabbing myself, saying कि ओफ क्यों नहीं हो रहा है ऐसे, पता नहीं आज क्या हो गया है मुझे. And then he said, auntie, do you know what happened to you? I said, what happened? He said, you are unmindful. I was stunned. I said, see, he is a child to whom we have been branding till now as a person with intellectual disability. But he is a child who has been telling me that what is the problem that is there with me, and which is 100% correct. I was distracted because we were, getting late. I was distracted because all the people had to be, like the transport has to be organized. Many other things had to happen. So my attention was not there, and that's the reason why I was not able to put the turban, like in a right way. Just oh, I'm so sorry. So what I'm trying to say is, persons with disabilities, the capacities are evolving, and we are not in a position to understand the entire, potentiality of a person till now. To a certain extent, when I was talking about national trust, that's the time when we thought about the legal guardian. But then sooner or later, we also realize many of the people do have legal capacities. We just cannot, have an umbrella approach and put everybody, into this, and then, say that yes, everybody, like a cerebral palsy person also requires a legal guardian, or autistic spectrum disorder person also requires a legal guardian. No, it is not like that. Many of the ASD people who also has, like normal intelligence. I mean, they're more than that rather. So we have to understand. So we have to listen to the people, and then promoting independence, which is very, very important. We have to work with them to teach how to become important, or to let them how to become important, specifically for the people those are under, like high support need. And of course, promoting the inclusivity. We just can't work with people with disability. They have to be there with everyone. If you are talking about education, then they have to be there in the education field. They have to be there in the school with other children, because like children, like learn many things from their own peers. They also have to learn things from their own peers, and the other children, the so-called normal children, the non-disabled children, also has to learn from them. When we started working with the community, we had come up with a small booklet called, in Odia, it is called Emane Bhi Amar Sango. That means ye log bhi hamare dost hain. They are also our friends. So where it is, like told to the children who do not have any kind of impairments, that yes, there are children with impairments. They require your support to be there in the classroom. They require your support to be there in the sports activities and for some or other things. And you also require their support sometimes to, to complete, to kind of go ahead with your study, to go ahead with your education, probably learning songs from them, learning dance from them, so on and so forth. Okay, so, and we always believe that children, those who study together, those who live together, those who study together, they also learn to live together. So this inclusivity has to be, like promoted, and that's how we can actually empower persons with disabilities. Can you go next? Yeah, just go on clicking. I consider social work as an helping and enabling profession. We all of us, we know that. Those have been actually doing the professional social work courses, and it not only helps, but it also enables a person to explore his or her own potentiality with the socio-ecological systems he or he lives in. I mean, we have people there within the family, but then the person is a person. Her individuality or his individuality has to be actually kind of recognized. So within the family, within the community, and within the society, wherever the ecosystem is there, we have to see that what kind of, how the person is linked with his immediate family or family, how the person is linked with the community or with the society at large, and the kind of potentiality the child is actually showing in the other area has to be like tap on. I'll again share one of my experience working there in Ganjam back in 2001, where there was an extensive community-based inclusive development program was going on. We have a strategy to work in the field, work in the villages in an inclusive way, where we form a children club in the villages, where we have children with disabilities, with non-disabilities coming together as a club. So the first task is given to the children that you have to enumerate, or you have to come out with a list of children that are in school going age in your school but are not able to go to the school. At that point of time, there's a number of children who are actually dropping out our child labor. Many of you know that Ganjam is again another state from where a lot of migration takes place. A lot of like family members are there in the Surat and other places earning over there. So many of the children who are children with disability, they also drop out from the school. They don't go to the school. They don't feel, I mean, the parents don't feel that they are supposed to be there in the school. So they come out with those kind of lists and all. And then there was a discussion happened regarding the branding. So we know, I mean, in our societies, in our villages, they call the children by the name of the disability, like langda hai, baat nahi kar sakta hai, vera hai, and all that. So in Odia, when they say chota joda and all, so people, like all the children, they were told that these are very derogatory languages. You should not be, no one should be, like called like that. So the children actually kind of took it up very seriously. They said, yes, this is something which is very, very serious, and people should not be calling them like that. So in one of the villages, there was a like elderly person who, and the child club leader was a boy who has polio, so he was not able to walk properly, and then in fact both of his legs were affected by polio, so he was given a wheelchair. So he comes up, like he propels the wheelchairs within the village around, and also when they have the children club meeting in under the tree, and also they come together. So this person comes in and say, hey chota, I mean Odia, अरे छोटा तो बेटी बच्ची की कौन कोचू, इट्स लाइक क्या कर रहे हो तुम लोग, तुम इसको एड्रेस कर रहा है कि लंगड़ा है, अरे लंगड़ा तू यहाँ बैठ के क्या कर रहा है. Then like these children started saying कि uncle आप हमको लंगड़ा नहीं बोल सकते हैं, this is not a good language, you should not be saying that, you are such a elderly person, you should not be using these terms. So these people kind of started explaining this man or educating this man number of times, it seems. And it so happened like I was there in one of the meetings, and then this man came in again, he started actually saying the same thing. Now this boy who was the leader of this group, he started saying, Vera uncle, I mean, in Odia, Kalla Mosa, आपन को कौन सुना जाओ नहीं. Just like Vera uncle, आपको नहीं सुनाई दे रहा है क्या? हम लोग इतनी बार बोले हैं कि हम लोग लंगड़ा नहीं, आपको लंगड़ा नहीं बुलाना चाहिए, मेरा नाम ये है, आप मुझे नाम पे बुला, पर आप ऐसे ही बुला रहे हो, तो इसका मतलब आप भी तो वेरे हो. Okay, so that is how the children started actually, like posing them. And the other thing what happened when a child with disabilities goes, like door to door and asks the parents that, are you not sending your child to the school? Then they don't look at the disability of the child. They look at the potentiality of the child. They look at the, conviction of the child who could come and then, kind of persuade them to, kind of not letting their children go for work, rather go to the school. So those kind of inclusivity has to happen. So that is the relationship the child is having with his ecosystem. Maybe the family members of the of this child do not know what this child is up to. So so that relationship has to be mapped, or like to know about. And the social work profession is again committed to maximizing the well-being of individuals, families, groups, communities, and society. So, what I have understood, because we have been talked about the dynamics of the society, the dynamics of the community, and the people those are living in within the community, the characteristics of community and structures that helps us in terms of understanding it and strategizing our interventions to help even to the family in terms of accepting the child with disability or person with disability, the family to kind of help the person to come up and to earn, or even to keep relationship with others, to get like socially accepted and things like that. Next, please. So what I'm trying to say here is, like, social work as a profession helps us in terms of understanding all those things. So this slide is a little bit, yeah. Anyways, so it is social work helps us in terms of taking a holistic approach in terms of understanding the person, in understanding the impairment, and also understanding impairment is just not the aspect that has to be focused on, but the potentiality has to be more looked upon. And the persons with disability are diverse group and have a wide range of experience, abilities, impairments, and potential for development. We can't have a one straitjacketed approach for everyone. Okay, we can't say that just because it worked with X is going to work with Y, because each of the person may not be having the same specific needs. Their needs are different, their abilities are different, their impairments are different. So as per the person's need and requirements, we have to design the programs to help them and all. The social workers make a distinction between impairment and disability. This is again an enabling term I'm trying to tell you here, because when we think about disability, we see that what are the inability of the person, what the person cannot do. Like initially when we are asking, oh, who do you think a person with disability is, then we started talking about the person who cannot see, who cannot hear, we cannot do this and that. So we try to see a person from a cannot framework, which kind of like inhibits our even our thinking to design a program which will be enabling the person. So it is the social worker who kind of like make a differentiation between the impairment and the disability. So when you talk about the impairment, then you started looking at what are the problems which might inhibit the person in from participating in his daily core activities, and then work accordingly. So it is not physical, cognitive, or sensory impairment that cause disability, but rather the way in which societies fail to accommodate natural aspects of difference between people. As I was saying, our attitude actually, plays a lot. And if we do not have an attitude of kind of helping, and then we'll see that the person is not able to do that. And then we start, kind of supporting our statement saying कि अरे मैंने तो बोला था वो कुछ नहीं कर पाएगा, आप क्यों इसको इतना ये कर रहे हो? But if we start looking at, yes, let us do something, the person can participate. I still remember in one of the villages when we are talking about, it was not on disabilities and all that, we were talking about Pani Panchayat. This man who was, not able to see, he is a person with visual impairment and all. So he started actually giving a lot of information how a Pani Panchayat can actually work in a village. Now, if we do not ensure the participation of people with disabilities in all those kind of developmental space, that means we are again dividing them from the development discourse, and that means also we are missing out a very important component of development. So it is complementing and supplementing to each other. So we have to think about, because we consider the person as a potential person, so we have to think how we can actually best use his potentiality in the development discourse. So social workers adopt a person, environment approach that includes a focus on the structural and cultural factors that may negatively impact on an individual's ability to engage with the social work. See, these are all yeah. Can we go to the next slide? I think I'm getting, like, if you just ask me, I can go on and on for 3 days. So it's better let's see. So social workers focus on maintaining and enhancing quality of life, as I say, and they contribute to the knowledge and skills to assist people with disability, their families and communities through their work in a range of settings, as I was telling you, in my last discussion. And also their work includes all level of management and program design, like I was said again, individual planning with keeping the specific need of the people, counseling, coordinating with different agencies, different with a different level of people. It starts from like managing the person, or it starts from supporting the persons to the policy and the development discourse, and then also the advanced research and the advocacy. And again, social workers develop evidence-based information, which is very important in today's world. They are good at looking at the assessment or doing the kind of evaluation of the work, to evaluate that with whatever we have done is whether it's going on in the right direction or not. So those kind of like technical things that actually has to happen, is again because of the social work background that we all have. Yeah, next. Well, I mean, for a lifespan practice, actually, if you see, I mean, starting from the childhood to the adult, that is a role. That is a role of social worker everywhere. Uh, as we have already discussed about children and also about adults, when they come to families, there's a lot of requirement is there when they come into marriage, and also their sexualities. These are the very specific and very technical areas where the contribution has to happen. And of course the caregivers, there are people with high support need, as I was saying. So the caregivers requires a lot of training, orientation, and also counseling time to time, to keep the the morale of the person to be boosted, so that the person actually gives his or her best to the person to whom the care is actually given. So again, the group work and uh, yeah, can you go next? Scope, as you said, there is a scope working with the person himself, with the family, and again with different other things like the rights of persons with disability, which is again another area where we have to invest a lot and we have to work still a lot, even though the act is still there. But that does not mean that all the people with disability are, getting the due advantage or getting the due, rights that they should be getting. So looking at their need, looking at their their situation, and also looking at their very specific, even looking at their own aspirations, we have to see where we can actually fit in ourselves. Yeah, next. Yeah, so these are like very intensive thing which I actually do not want to speak so much in detail. But starting from the assessment to the capacity building, or to the person to person management, and also the service coordination, everything are actually like the forte of social workers. The social workers can actually work on those spaces, and with a very professional manner that I can actually tell you about. Again, from my own life, I can say that when I started working in this field, I never thought that I'll come to this space. I never thought, and there are a number of things that which I also kind of started innovating. Yes, we have to do this, we have to do that. When you get involved with the people, then a lot of things that actually comes to your mind, and it is again for the kind of orientation that we have on social work. Yeah, can we go next? And this presentation is there with Pradeep. Pradeep, you can share it with all the participants if you require. Okay, yeah, I have already talked about this. Can you go next? Well, this is again another area where the social work profession is actually much more involved. The psychosocial aspect, which is very important, because social work as a profession is, we have been taught about psychology, we also have been taught about sociology, we also know the social work principles, the social work methods and all that. So that kind of like helps us in terms of working in psychosocial aspects. And there is a medical psychiatric social work, as you all know. So this is again dominated by the social work profession, I must say, and that helps us in terms of looking at the kind of impact the disability is having on the person himself or herself. It's having with the family members, on the family members, I mean, to be very specific, of the parents, with the siblings, with other family, extended family members, and how to deal with those people. We have the case works, we know how to do the group works, and we, like apply all these principles to take care of it. And it also has a social legal issues and ethical decision making issues sometimes. When it comes to what was that film? Where this man must be, applying for mercy death. I don't remember. So those are the social, like legal issues that we have to deal with sometimes. Apart from that, as I was saying, like other day, one of the parents was asking. Very recently, there was a parents' association meeting where I was part of, and the parents whose child is actually require a lot of, like need support, and probably not in a stage right now to take any legal decision, was asking what to do, about the legal capacity of my child, the legal rights of my child after me. I might be having a house in my name, you should go to my child's name. Now if my after my death, somebody else might, like kind of taken that property out from her. So how to kind of protect her rights? So appointing a legal authority, appointing a legal guardian, so all those kind of the legal aspects has to be dealt with by the social worker. And the complex family dynamics, sometimes, even the parents themselves are not in they are in a denial mode. So when the information is revealed to the parent that their child is a person with disability, is a child with disability, it takes time for them to come to the terms and accept the child. They're completely in a denial mode, might be for a long period of time, or also that denial mode can go away in a very short period of time, and they start accepting the child. But then those days are always there. So dealing with those complex dynamics, a professional social worker is actually better equipped with the kind of knowledge that we have. And of course the mental health aspect, which is again be dealt with by the social workers. Yeah, can you go next? It's the same thing, how it actually, what are the things that has been there. I mean, I just tried to put it across as per the thematic area. Next. Well, I have come to the end of my presentation. So the professional social workers have much to contribute to the disability field in both government and non-government organization, and much more in the emerging private sector. As all of you know, there's a corporate social, responsibility that is coming up. So how do we take the discourse of disability into the CSR field, and not on a very welfaristic approach, because we have, like move ahead with that. So how do you establish the inclusive model, and or the inclusive discourse, or the inclusive rights, and that's also rights of persons with disability, and then ensuring the right of people with disability. And the focus on self-determination and holistic analysis, social workers offer a unique and valuable contribution to providing appropriate and targeted services to meet the complex needs of individuals, their families, communities in both disability and mainstream, disabilities. So at the end, what I would actually try to say that there's a lot to know, first of all, and also when we learn things, how do we unlearn ourselves and then get into action is much more important. We all have learned to hear and kind of understand things. As I was telling you, one of the examples where this man was feeling very isolated, because everybody over there is not, they don't talk, they sign, and he doesn't know how to sign. The same thing also happened with me once when I was there in Calcutta Spastic Society. My superior said, okay, you go and talk to this person. So I visited this girl who was in a wheelchair, and she was sitting in a wheelchair. There was a there's a headband actually tied up. So I was thinking probably because his head is shaking, that is why probably he had tied it up and all that. And I asked, what's your name and how do you, yeah, my superior said, you get to know about this institute from her. So I said, can you tell me about this institution? 5 minutes gone, 10 minutes gone, 15 minutes gone. I'm not hearing a single word from her. And I was, like frantically getting desperate. And after 15 minutes, I really lost my patience. I said, my God, where did she send me? And to whom did she send me? She's not speaking anything. And that thing came out from my mouth. Oh my God, she's not speaking anything. So then I heard a tuck tuck sound. The headband which she was having in her head, there was a pointer from her head. This girl was a non-communicable girl, or she doesn't speak. She has problem in speaking. That's why she communicate. There's an alternative communication system. There was a board which was having letters, words written on that board, and she was trying to draw my attention to that board with the tuck tuck sound, which I was ignoring because my learning of getting information was through my ears, and I was not hearing anything. Okay. And then when I looked at that, it is written in the board that my name is Mithu Kapoor and I cannot speak. So then I was feeling, my God, what did I do? I mean, I made a blunder. Then I said, I'm really sorry, Mithu. I was not introduced to this system. So that's why I couldn't follow your instructions. I'm really sorry. We lost 15 minutes time. I was given 45 minutes time to complete my task and come back. But then I'll try to get as more as information from you within the next half an hour. So I'll tell you, my dear friends, that was again another learning for me on that day. And then I was thinking probably I'm a very enthusiastic social worker. I just came over here to learn about disability. That means I'm doing a favor to people with disability. No, not at any point of time. Please don't think that. We do not know what kind of potentialities these people have. We do not know what kind of intelligence these people are actually carrying. Uh, just because they are not able to communicate the way we are does not mean that they are less capable of. Okay. Thank you so much. I would stop here. And if there are questions, I would love to take it. I know many people must have dropped out in between, but whoever are there, if you all have any question, it's okay. Or if you do not have question, then that is also okay.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We have with us Professor Asutosh Pradhan, and I think Professor Bipin Jojo also joined. I don't know whether he's there or not.
Oh, all the veterans are here.
I request Professor Pradhan if he can contribute something or add something. Is most welcome. Professor Pradhan, please. Sir, can you hear me? Asutosh sir, please unmute if you are. Okay, maybe he's. Professor Bipin Jojo is also with us. Bipin sir, I request you to add something for today's discussion. It was a very nice discussion, and Madam told all these things what she had experienced from the field. I hope all the participants present over here definitely might have understood many things and understood the situation of person with disability. Now, Bipin sir, yes sir.
So when Sneha Madam has spoken, when she has been working in this sector for years, it is my limitation rather to ask questions. Personally, I don't find myself um, to claim any kind of experience or ability to work to this sector, which is very important sector, which Anna has been doing very remarkable work over the years. I can share a story of one of my students. I had a student who is an army major and who lost his eyesight in Kargil War. He fought Kargil War and he lost his eyesight in the war, Kargil War. And as part of the rehabilitation scheme, he opted to study social work. And he came to TISS. Okay. And after doing his MSW, he went to London School of Economics for further studies, and he joined Leonard Society firm in Bangalore and subsequently in London office. And over the years, after a few years, he joined United Nations as advisor to United Nations General Secretary on persons with disability work. And right now he is working in New York with UNICEF. The point I'm trying to say, as Sneha has already emphasized, and from the presentation, she has made it a point that when somebody cannot see or cannot work or walk like us, or having certain kind of limitations or challenges, like all of us have, there are many other abilities probably some of us we do not have, or most of us do not have. And as I said, this student of mine, he's 100% visually impaired student. Okay, but he's working with UNICEF in New York, and he was advisor to UN General Secretary on disability sector. And he's amazing and brilliant and smart and very intelligent and sharp person. So I see that, first of all, people like us who can see, who can walk, we feel that we are able, and the people who are with physically or mental or other kind of challenges, we feel they are challenged and we are able. But many times probably they are more able than us and we are more challenged than them. But most important part is either as a human being, as a social worker, and also sometimes as a family member, we find it difficult to accept them as a person. I think Sneha also has emphasized on that aspect, that accept them as a person. I think as social worker, it is very important for us to see that, first of all, let us accept them as a person. And if we are able to do that as a personal level, I think we'll be able to see that whether they have abilities or what are their abilities which we can work with or which probably we can support or facilitate to excel in their life. Now, based on Sneha Madam's work, probably if she could also add light on, with the different lifespan, what are the challenges of persons with disability, not only with the persons but also the family members. At the different lifespan, we have different challenges, and so they are not, though there are 21 categories, even in each category with their lifespan there are different challenges, different issues, and so people themselves and the family members, they have different challenges to fix. If that could also be added a bit in discussion. So I'll leave it with that question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Jojo. Yeah, I'll come back to you, but I think there are two more questions by Phileman. He's raised his hand. Can I have your
Yes,
question?
yes. Uday
Phileman
Vallabh
Digal.
Pradhan want to ask anything? Please unmute and introduce yourself and ask your question.
Sir, I am Hruday from second year English student from DS. Ma'am, there are basically two questions from my side. Ma'am, kindly tell something about OPSWA and how to register there and what is its mission and vision. And second question is, I am staying in Rayagada. If there are lots of disabled people I am getting here, can I take any help of AINA to empower them? Ma'am, these two questions from my side.
Okay, okay. Take. Yeah.
So we'll also finish Philman's question. Philman
Yeah.
Digal, please you also ask your question. After that, madam will respond.
Sure. Ma'am, good afternoon. So
Philman,
my name
please
is Philman
introduce
Digal.
yourself. Yes.
My name is Philman Digal. I hope I am audible.
Yes, yes, you are.
So I'm also master of social work in from NISPAS, and now I have been working with promoting what is called MSMEs. So earlier I was working with Government of Odisha to promote Mission Swavalamban, which was run by supported by CDB. So where I used to work with different government schemes to make individuals entrepreneurs. So again now my work is like completely with SSG women's, make them from SSGs to SMEs. So keeping this point in view, so what all the opportunities are there for people with disabilities for livelihood promotions and government schemes or related to promote their livelihood so that they should not depend on like job and all, but they can themselves become entrepreneurs.
Okay, thank you. Good questions. Anyone else or shall I respond?
Yes, ma'am, you responded. Currently,
Okay.
there is no, yes,
Okay.
no other question.
So I'll take Professor Jojo's question first, specifically the challenges that is there in the lifespan that people with disability that they face, or even their families that they face. I have in fact touched upon a number of things during my deliberation. I would repeat again. Like when we talk about when I was showing the lifespan, that graph was there. Like when there's a child with disability, let us say, at the childhood. So when there's a child with disabilities, the challenges specifically is, as I said, because we do not understand the kind of problem or the kind of like disability the child is actually having. So dealing with the child itself becomes a problem. Let us say, for example, if there is a child with cerebral palsy whose limbs are affected, or let us say if the child is quadriplegic or all the four limbs are affected, but the intelligence is normal. When the four limbs are affected, matlab, like definitely the speech is also affected because the muscles are affected. So because the child is not able to speak properly or speak on time, let's say by the age of 2, children start speaking. Now, this child, when he doesn't speak by the age of 2, and then other things are also there and all, so we also kind of tend to forget to talk to the child. Okay, the child is not able to communicate, but we are able to communicate. But we also stop communicating with the child, thinking that he is not able to speak, but he can understand. Okay, so those kind of problems are actually the major problem, I would say. At any point of time, we should not be thinking that child does not hear. For that matter, when I communicate with the hearing impaired people, I keep on speaking. When I say that, how are you? I also speak. I know very well that my sound doesn't actually reach the person. But then at least when I speak, the person also will be able to read from my lip. So there is something called lip reading, that is there. And also, there are other persons who are around me. They know that the kind of question that I'm asking her or him, and when the person answers, then they know this is the kind of answer that person actually gives. When I say that what you have done is very good, so this work is very good, I said that, and I speak it I speak verbally, and also I do the signing, the person understand that I have been appreciated for my work, and also he communicates saying that thank you. This is how that they say. Now the person who is standing next to me, who only hears the voice, he also kind of learns this is the signature of, this is the sign of thank you. Okay, so that's the reason why we should not stop communicating with the child, which is a major problem that happens, thinking that the child is not able to understand, that the child is not able to hear or something like that. The most important thing is, like I said, when the news that if there are children who are let us say congenital problems, or like they're congenitally childhood disabilities, when the news is actually kind of revealed to the parents are devastated, because they do not know how to deal with disability. So they think, why we have been cursed, because that's the kind of thinking that has been actually there. People have been thinking that, or like they are made to think that because of your लास्ट बर्थ का जो प्रॉब्लम हुआ है, क्या बोलते हैं उसको, लाइक जो पाप हुआ है, पाप की वजह से ऐसे बच्चे हैं, so they keep thinking about it. So there's in the meantime they forget about the child, they don't give the attention to the child. This is again another problem with which we have to actually deal with. Sooner we get the parents to kind of realize that yes, the child is having, or accept that the child is having these kind of problems, but then there is a lot of other things to do, there's a lot of scope to do, it's better for the child. So in the childhood we have to deal with the problem that the child is having, or the kind of impairment the child is having, how to deal with that impairments, how to prevent that impairments from becoming disability. So the kind of services that we should be offering to the child. Along with that, we also have to see the child should be there in Anganwadis, the child should be there within schools on time, or by the age he should be there in the school. The child should be given admission to the school, and dealing with the school authority, dealing with other educational functionaries, because many a time they also don't accept the child to be there in the school, even though we have inclusive education manual by Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan or the Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan. But many times even now also people face problem when they get the child admitted into the school. So we have to understand that there is a right, they are not doing anything mercy. If the quota has been enhanced, then it is the right of that particular person. Now just imagine in states like Odisha, there is a pension given to the person with disability as 500 rupees. What is going to happen in 500 rupees in today's time? So we have to give those kind of arguments, and then talk to the authority to make a right kind of provisions for them. Well, so from the childhood, when I come to the adolescent age, children, those have communication wise, not like you and me, or those depend on alternative communications, also face problems when they get into adolescence. One is like, even now we do not have right kind of information or the right kind of source where our adolescent kids get information about what adolescence is all about. So when it comes to disability or adolescents with disability, it is much more a problem. So giving information, giving right kind of information or access to information on themselves, about their body, about the changes that is happening in the body, is also important. Dealing with the child, and again dealing with the parents, when that is like I said, there are different category of disability, so the needs are also very specific to the kind of impairments that they have. Let's say there's a child who has intellectual disability and with hyperactiveness. The hyperactivity probably would increase as the child gets into the adolescent age. Now this has to be understood by the parents, this has to be understood by the caretaker, this also needs to be understood by the teachers, those are dealing with the children. Now, the social worker, those are actually working with the children or with the parents in the school. They have to, and let me tell you, as per the national education policy, you need to have school social workers appointed in each of the schools. And the school social workers have a greater and bigger role to play with the children. Those are children with disability, those are there in the school with all category of disabilities. Rather, I would say that the social worker should play a major role in terms of getting the children with high support need to the fold of school education, because that is something which is missing. Even now also you will see that children with reduced mobilities or with mobility issues are there in the school. Children with hearing impairment are there, children with visual impairment are there, but intellectual disability is missing, or children with autistic disorder is also missing. So getting these children into the mainstream school is also quite important for social workers, because as social workers we have understood that they have a right to be there in the schools with other children, and also as social workers we have understood that with the specific need because of their impairments, if we try to deal with the barriers, the inhibitant factors, then we can definitely get the child into the mainstreams, or with an inclusivity, approach. So that is that. And then when the person gets into adult, I think I'll also take up the last question that was asked about the livelihood. That is one area where, we probably don't think about investing on, because we think that people with disability cannot be contributing members in our family or even in the community, which is again incorrect. Our own census has been saying that 65% of people with disability are into labor force. That means they are earning members. Now we do not, give that much of emphasis to people with disability, or kind of accept that people with disability can earn. That is our inability, our disability rather. It's not their disability. For the first time in our legal system, there is an act called MGNRG that got enacted in our country in 2009. Am I right? So for the first time, there was, it is written very categorically that the persons with disability also has guaranteed work under MGNRG. Now, how many of us have been, kind of promoting people with disability to be part of the MGNRG work? Probably not there. Probably there are very casual inclusion, or some people, who has very marginal disabilities or marginal impairment are part of the MGNRG, but rest are missing. But we can also think of, getting mobilized these people to that MGNRG thing. Secondly, I think you're talking about you're working with the SMSC now. So there's an ample of opportunity over there to see that persons with disability get skill training, get skilled, so that their employment ability also gets increased, and they also can get employed very easily, or even they can get into entrepreneurship, and then get into the livelihood things. So livelihood for people with disability is very, very important. Initial days when we started working in, even now, so in the rural areas, what we think of, the best thing is ek dukaan khulwa do un logon ke liye. That could be there, but that's not the end. I'll tell you, in the area where we have been working for last 20-25 years, in the first few years where we have invested and then kind of worked with the people with disability to come up with the SAGs. There are 150 SAGs of people with disability we have promoted, and then we tried to kind of get them linked with the banks, and the banks started giving loan like to the Mission Shakti SAGs or the women SAGs you are talking about. So they took the loan and they started actually working with many other things. I mean, like somebody opened a petty shop, let us say, people started working in the agro base, people started working in other skill things and all, and then ultimately they started also earning something. But then after 20-25 years, what we have seen is the shops that, some of the shops that the women or even the people, the men, those have actually opened up, they did not think of going with that. They kind of, shifted from that to other core areas. Like they got into mushroom cultivation, they got into vermicompost, which is very, very important for organic farming things and all that. So they think that by this we will be able to actually contribute to our farmers those are into the organic farming in our villages, which is definitely good. And I'm really glad that it is not been told by any organization, but it is the people who themselves have actually come up with those kind of things. That's why I said that, we cannot underestimate the power of people with disabilities. We always think that they are not able to think, or probably that because they don't communicate, that does not mean they don't understand things. Okay. So livelihood is another area where we have to invest on. We have to see that the people are educated, they are skilled, they got into many livelihood options, not necessarily always, what do you say, the non-skilled things, but the skilled employment also they can take up. Okay. And Vipin, there is a lot of things to speak about the life skill things. So as we talked about adult and the other thing which I also wanted to say here, Vipin, and also for rest of the people here, when we talk about a percentage of disabilities, if we actually break that into the age category, the senior citizens or like in the older ages, the percentage of disability is quite high within the disability sphere. In 2002-3, when we did this survey in Ganjam, what we had seen is within the disabilities, 17% of people with disabilities are actually above the age of 60. That means if we have 100 people with disabilities, minimum 17 are, minimum 17 people are actually having disabilities who are in the age group of 60 and onwards. So that's a very high number and high percentage of disability for that matter. Like the age-old problem is there in terms of seeing, in terms of hearing and all that. And what we often do is like we don't give that much of importance, or we don't give that much emphasis that ठीक है, I mean it's like old age में ये होता है, so let's not like give that much of importance to that. ये ठीक है, दिखाई नहीं देगा, जब लोग बूढ़े हो जाते हैं तो उनको दिखाई नहीं देता है, they are not able to hear. But that also can be treatable, that also can be like taken care of. A person also can be again a contributing member just if you take care of the hearing, or just if you take care of the seeing, or even provide a mobile mobility devices and things like that. So that is also there. So that is again another challenge. The major challenges when it comes to disability is again, I would say, marriage or even the sexuality. Even now, people think that people with disability are asexual. They do not require to get married, or they do not require to have relationship with people. So that is again another gray area that we don't touch upon. And in many of the states, still the welfareistic attitude is there. When a person with disability gets married to a non-disabled person, they also give some compensation to that person. It's not compensation, it's like initiative, the incentive is given to the person, the non-disabled person, thinking that he has done a mercy on people with disability. Somehow, I as a person take it very offensively. Why should you, incentivize a person just because he got married to me and I'm a person with disability? I don't understand that logic at all. And rather, what we have seen in our field is because of that, a lot of violence takes place. The non-disabled people, they get married to the disabled woman. They get some dowry because this is a disabled girl they are marrying, and so they are doing definitely mercy on the family. They get incentivized by the government, and after 1 or 2 years, they don't have any relationship with this woman, and then many problem happens. The other thing is again, the challenges is there when there is a girl or woman with disability in the family. Multiple of problem that happens. We always say they are triply disadvantaged being a woman with disability. One is because they are women and they do not have access to many other things, and because of the women, because of the gender discrimination that is still there in the society, they have been discriminated with, they're disadvantaged, and because again the disability is there, and girls with disabilities, so they also face a lot of problems. So gender is again another issue where we have to work on. Gender and disability is another issue where the social worker actually has to invest on. And talking about the gentleman from Ragada. For OPSWA, kindly visit the website of OPSWA. The vision and mission, everything is like there. The objective of OPSWA is also there. It is again a professional social worker association here in Odisha. Those are professionally at least completed their masters and BSWs. They can be the member in OPSWA. Either you are a person from Odisha or a person who has completed his master's degree in social work and working there in Odisha can be part of this association. And like any other professional association, this is a professional association which is supporting the cause of the people those are there. Like for the professional social workers. And the other thing is also here in OPSWA, we try to enhance the capacities of children or the young social workers, let us say, who are yet to be the professionals, but then they are still the students. and by organizing seminars, by organizing workshops, those kind of things. So that is another area where we are also working here in OPSWA. And talking about disabilities in Rayagada, I'll tell you one thing. I mean, again, we are a culprit. In a sense, I feel guilty that even till now, AINA is a LLC member. Under National Trust Act, there is local level committees been formed in all the districts where a local NGO is actually a member. So for Rayagada, at that point of time, because there was no registered organizations under National Trust, so AINA was given the responsibility as the LLC member, which is still there. I have been trying to actually, talking to the DSS so that you should be changing this to the other organization, because now I hear that there are a number of organizations who got registered under National Trust, so that thing should be actually transferred to them, but I'm not able to do that till now. But yes, like if you see any person with disability where you really want to help them, you can definitely contact us. You can definitely let us know. I mean the kind of problems that you have been facing, or what do you in what way you want to support them. Whatever is under our control, or whatever services we can offer, will be definitely helping you out. That can be there. But let me just tell you
I'm
one thing.
actually sorry to intervene. Actually, we got notification to complete
Close
close
it.
the meeting in
Fine.
8:30. We have
Yeah.
about 2 hours completed. So
I have
automatically,
answered all the questions. If there are any other questions, you can write to me, and I'll try to give answers. I mean, respond to your questions. Okay. Yeah.
So
Thank you, brother.
thank you so much, ma'am. Actually, this is very informative, as well as very practical. As a social worker, all we are doing. So I believe it is not simply a lecture. It is much more than that of that, and we all understood. All participant will agree with me also. We understood many things about disability and how being a social worker we can intervene. We can understand their issues, and we can solve the issues. So in a sense, what I understood from the today's lecture, in a sense or other, we all are disabled at some point.
Yes.
So
Yes, of course.
saying them as disabled is not that ethical. That I understood from this session. Thank you so much. We are really so much happy
Thank you.
to have you with us and deliver such a fantastic lecture. Thank you so
Thank you.
much, and thank you all the participants over here. And good night. We'll again meet on next Saturday at 6:30 with another resource person.
Yeah. Thank you
and
all.
another
Thank you
interesting topic.
for listening to me and bearing with me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Namaskar.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Pradeep sir. Thank you so much,